Good morning, everyone. We are so glad you're here with us. Good morning to everyone in the West Coast. Good afternoon to everybody in the East Coast, and it's lunchtime for all of you right here in the central part of the central part of the country. Thank you so much for being here. This is Fat to Fit, a police officer's struggle, a C.O.P.S webinar that we're so excited to bring to you today. This will be a 30-minute webinar, 30 minutes for us to talk with our special guest in just a few minutes. But before we bring our special guest in, let's bring in some of my colleagues here in the C.O.P.S training department. Hey, Lisa, how are you? And there is Emily. Lisa is the C.O.P.S training manager here at C.O.P.S, and Emily is the C.O.P.S training coordinator. They're going to be working with us during this webinar, and we would love for this webinar to be interactive and be able to, see who you are and talk with you during this webinar. Lisa, how can they do that by participating in this webinar?
Yeah. Hey, everybody. I'm going to be launching some polls sporadically throughout the webinar. We'd love to hear your feedback, get some information from you. In fact, I'll go ahead and launch one now. What city and state are you guys from? Let us know. We'd love to see where you're coming from.
Yes, that is awesome. And Emily is also going to be working with us and helping us along this. And Emily, if the officers and attendees that are watching, if they have any questions, how can they get those questions to us and try to ask our special guest?
Oh, it looks like it's muted, Emily.
Okay. All you have to do is go to the bottom of the screen. There's a chat button, and then a little box will pop up to your right, and you can ask your questions there.
Yes, well, awesome. So Emily and Lisa, thank you so much. We're going to continue on with the webinar, and you guys will be helping us throughout the process. So thank you very much. Now we're going to bring in our special guest. Our special guest is John Blumenthal. He is a retired Oklahoma City police officer, Master Sergeant. John, welcome to the TLE. Welcome to not the TLE. You've been to TLEs. How many TLEs have we done together?
I have a lot over the years. I have no idea. It's been a bunch.
It's been a bunch. And now tell me this. So we met each other about 5 years ago through C.O.P.S and working traumas of law enforcement training. And when I met you, you had some kids. I've got some kids that are growing now. Tell me a little bit about your family and your children.
Yeah, I'm married. We've got a 30-year-old, a 24-year-old, and a 20-year-old. Everybody is out of the house. We also have a 2.5-year-old grandson. We got 2 dogs and an RV. Yep, it's just us at home trying to figure things out. Yeah.
Now tell me this. You told me that I believe, do you have any kids that are police officers like their father?
Yeah, my older one is he runs our farm, is in law enforcement. My middle one is in Wisconsin, and I believe their class is watching today. Hello, Jacob, and the rest of the class. Appreciate you guys watching. He is actually in the police academy at Stevens Point, Wisconsin, and will graduate in December and move back home. And then my youngest, 20-year-old, is in the Army National Guard here in Oklahoma on active duty orders.
Who is this?
That is Jacob. Yep, that's Jacob at kids camp, actually, I think last year. He drives down to kids camp and helps us out for a day or two there in Wisconsin.
That is awesome. That is awesome. So hello to all your children if they're watching, and Jacob and his class who are watching right now. So Blue, tell me this. So how long have you been working in law enforcement?
I started in law enforcement in August of 1999.
August of 1999. Yep. And so you started in law enforcement, but that's not the first job you had. So tell me about where you started and where you started working and really working with helping others.
Well, I served in the United States Marine Corps first. After I got out of high school, I did 4 years active duty in the Marine Corps. And then after I got out of the Marine Corps, a few months later, I got on the Oklahoma City Police Department and did 24 and a half years and just recently retired in December. And I've been working with C.O.P.S, I think, for, maybe 8 years, 7, 8 years now. doing support services, the various events, conferences, seminars, police week around the country. And now I'm the chief operating officer for Warriors Rest Foundation here in Edmond, Oklahoma. Again, we do all the support services for the concerns of police survivors.
That is amazing. No, that is awesome. But let's go back. Let's start at the beginning. You said you were in the Marine Corps. What
Yep.
led you there? And look at you here. This is where you probably were in some of the best shape of your life.
Yeah, I had just turned 19. I graduated, and that's shortly after I turned 19 years old. I left for the Marine Corps, went to MCRD San Diego, Marine Corps Recruit Depot San Diego. I went in at about 200 pounds. I was, if any Marines are on here, you know what a diet recruit was. I had the red stripes so everybody could see that I was a fat body, is what we were called then. I don't know if they still do that. But yeah, I lost, 50, 55 pounds in 3 months in boot camp.
And so you lost all that weight in boot camp, and then you serve. And how long did you serve for?
4 years.
4 years you're serving, and then you come out of the military and you get into police work. How did that go when you start looking at your physical fitness from the Marine Corps to now working on the road?
Yeah, so I kind of knew what I was getting into. My dad did almost 30 years here on the Oklahoma City Police Department. He came on in 1979, retired in 2003, and then passed away at 53 years old in 2006. Great career, was there during the Oklahoma City bombing, a couple other several events I'm sure that were impactful for him that we never ever talked about. So yeah, I got on the police department. It wasn't anything like the Marine Corps, obviously. I went straight to midnight shift, south of the downtown area, which was a very busy district. I worked 9:30 at night to 7:30 in the morning, 8 days on and 6 days off. But as most of you on here know, on those 6 days off or your days off, you're also picking up extra jobs, you're picking up extra details, extra duties, overtime shifts, and things like that.
And now, so you're doing all those extra shifts, Lou, and what does that do to your health when you are kind of now working yourself really into the ground?
Yeah, like I said, I started the police academy at probably 170, 175-ish, somewhere in there. I'd put some muscle on and weight during the Marine Corps. And I just, over time, it took a long time. It wasn't overnight or anything like that. It wasn't anything that I even did on purpose. I was dipping then a can a day, lots of back then Red Bull, Monster drinks, and everything else, Jolt Cola to go way back, things to stay awake during the night, swinging through McDonald's, sometimes not eating at all, depending on if I was stuck on a scene. So it just kind of depended. Eating, breakfast time for us was dinner time, 05:30, 6:30 in the morning. We were eating cheeseburgers and French fries, and then going home and trying to go to bed and be human. So it took time. It was a lot of. It didn't just happen overnight. It took time to get as big as I got. When I did, it was years. It was years to do.
Hey, now I'm looking at you now. I remember when I met you, and we all, me, myself, and the officers that are watching, our physical fitness, our health and wellness can go up and down. But the smart food choices, is that the reason why you think it went down, or is it just from balancing work and
It
life?
was it was a lot of different things. It was a combination of a lot of trauma that had gone through very early in my career, a lot of poor emotional and physical choices. Like I said, swinging through wherever I could to eat, or again, if I was stuck on a homicide scene or a fatality accident and not eating at all. It was a combination of things. A lot of it was mental, a lot of it was physical. It was both. But over time, I just kind of lost myself in this job. It became my identity 100%. I was cop through and through. And I kind of lost myself being a husband and a dad and a son and brother and everything else that I was before I got on the police department.
And is that when this is named Fat to Fit? I can't believe that you would ever have gotten. Look at you. You look like you're in great shape. You tell me that your physique changed?
Oh yeah, I I got up to about 285 pounds. Um, I refused to buy new uniforms. Yeah, that's me. I was just squeezing into whatever I could and zipping up and buttoning everything I could, my gun belt. And back then, of course, we wore the shiny stuff. We didn't have the outer vest and all of those things. But yeah, I was doing what I could. I was kind of still training here and there, working out. I got out of running altogether back then. It just seemed to hurt because I was so big. I was wearing size 42 trouser pants.
Two, really?
Yeah, 40 2X to 3X shirts.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was kind of the way I got happy being unhappy. I just kind of let myself go. Like I said, I'd work out here and there, but it was nothing that was routine. It was nothing that I was sticking to or anything like that. It was very sporadic. Everything seemed to be more important than me. And so that was the one thing I kind of let go was my health.
And you said you got happy being unhappy, so tell me this. So when people saw you, and I've met you, obviously we've worked together, and you work with all of us here at C.O.P.S, and you're always in a good mood. You're always smiling. And so when people saw you back then and you were smiling, and this is who we saw, were you really in a good place?
No, absolutely not. I was pretty good at faking that. That's actually, I think, about 2014, 13 when I was in motors for a while. That was motor school. I was really happy to get to a motor spot. But yeah, I was just, like I said, I kind of got stuck. I was the fat, funny guy, making everybody laugh. And so I just kind of went with that identity. I was a hard worker, high activity. I was shiny, maybe not looked as good as I wanted to in uniform, but I just was kind of going through life and making it work.
And so the officers that are listening, I think, we talk about cumulative trauma.
Yeah.
The mission of C.O.P.S is, supporting really survivors and coworkers, that are affected by line of duty death. Would you consider yourself a survivor?
Um, Everybody, I don't like that word for myself or my other coworker survivors, but yes, with some of the things that we've been through, some of the things that we've done over time, that cumulative trauma just adds up and just keeps filling the bucket, keeps filling the backpack. Um, yeah, we have a coworkers retreat, of course, and I know we're going to talk about that here in a bit. Um, and some of the stuff too, I got to a point where I wasn't comfortable anymore. I'd been through a lot of stuff, and I finally went and decided to go see a doctor. I got some blood work done. This has been a few years ago now. When I was actually a part of the wellness unit for the Oklahoma City Police Department, my last gig was being one of the sergeants and one of the assistant coordinators in there. And it was really hard for me to go tell people how to be physically fit because I looked really bad and I wasn't very healthy. Got some blood work done, and I was told by the doc that I was about 10 seconds away from being pre-diabetic. And that was very shocking to me. Very shocking. Yeah. And so at that point, I got with a nutritionalist and I started doing low carb, low sugar, not keto. I'd done that. That made me sick. I got on the shots for a little while. I don't mind admitting those made me very, very sick. So that didn't last very long for me. And I just started making food choices, better food choices. I started really concentrating on what I was eating. I started off running again, which was a very, very slow process. It was way more walking than running. Um, and it's taken me a couple of years. I've lost 65 pounds, 70 pounds ish, and I've kept it off. I try to train 4 or 5 days a week, whether jujitsu, boxing, judo. I've been running 5Ks again. I ran one last weekend for our Oklahoma cops here in the city. And then our memorial run is next Saturday here in Oklahoma. I'm running the 5K and then ODMP at Washington at Police Week, and another one in August for another fallen officer in the southern part of Oklahoma. But it's taken time. It's not easy. It's way easier to be out of shape and miserable. It takes a lot of discipline to push something away, that you're used to eating all the time. It takes a lot of discipline to decide, what to eat and when to eat it and things like that, especially as much as we travel. I've got, some workouts that I can actually do in my room with my bands because we do travel so much. So I hate, we're gone for 9, 10 days sometimes, literally in the middle of nowhere. There's not a place to work out. So I've downloaded some apps. I've downloaded some workouts to be able to do workouts whenever I could. and it would work out for me without weights and things like that.
And now you mentioned being pre-diabetic. So, there's lots of people that are watching right now. And, how can, I mean, you didn't know you were pre-diabetic. How can, I don't know if it's seeing your doctor regularly, or what would you tell those that are listening? Like what can they do?
I have a yearly physical. I do yearly blood work, and I have a yearly appointment with my cardiologist. And I have for quite a while. Again, I was really big, but I didn't realize how sick kind of internally I was. I was still able to go roll. I was still able to do jujitsu at that size. Not a lot of technique then, just kind of move my weight around. But after doing a yearly physical and blood work, and kind of figuring out what was wrong with me, I could adjust things to where it was going to work for me. There's diets out there. You see all these fad diets and things like that, and I tried this because someone else did it, but I had to really figure out what was working for me and my body. And once I kind of figured out that formula, I was able to get healthy and then also stay healthy.
Yes, and someone had asked something about, you mentioned shots. You had tried some shots. Like, what shots were you taking? Is a question kind of came in, and what can you tell us?
I'm obviously not a doctor. This was something that I tried. It was Wegovy. Um, I did those for a little while, and I got sick. I'm not saying they're good, bad, or indifferent by any means. They just didn't do, I thought, what they were going to do for me. I got very sick. My stomach, it was bad, and so I just stopped doing those. But I continued on a meal plan. I continued on my workouts and things like that. And that's kind of what, again, though, it took me a long time to get fat, and it took me a while to fix that and remedy that. We talked about it's a marathon, not a sprint. And so I have to be conscious every day. If I want a piece of pizza once, I'll have a piece of pizza. I'm not that guy. But I do try to be more cautious and conscientious of what I am eating, and then also try to stick to my workouts.
Yes, and we're sitting here, and there's things that they are doing that may be working, and it may be shots. So we're not endorsing or
No,
putting something up or down, and how you can get better and how you can help your health improve. There's so many different ways, and we want, everybody that's watching to try to find what works for them. Obviously, see your your doctor and
yes.
talk with them. Talk with your health counselor as well, and see how and what course of action works best for you. Blue, you mentioned boxing and doing some things like that. We have a picture here of you doing this, and this seemed to work for you. Tell me about what you're doing here.
Oh, it's a boxing class that we were doing at OKC Combat here in Oklahoma City. Some of my buddies that are other officers opened this gym up. We do jujitsu there, judo, boxing. Um, this was a 6 a.m. class that I would go to, and we have trainers there. It was an hour-long class. It wasn't about fighting so much or self-defense. It was just about movement. It was about getting your body in motion, and it's kind of sticking with that. I've been boxing for a long time, so I actually really enjoy that. I boxed in high school for Golden Gloves here in the city, and so that's something I like to do. I do it with my kids in the shop, and it's just something we enjoy. I'm not saying you have to go out and do that or do jujitsu. Just go move, just go walk. Walking is great for you. Find something that works for you: Pilates, yoga, whatever it is. But just get moving, and try to stick with something that once you figure out what works for you, that's the big thing. It's not the Facebook and everything else and seeing what everybody else. You've got to figure out what's going on with your own body, and that again is going to a doctor and getting a yearly physical.
And so when you came in from the Marine Corps, a couple of decades ago, and really you came in, and when you go into law enforcement, you're in the normally the best shape of your life. So you kind of are coming in sprinting.
Oh yeah,
But
yeah.
you gotta realize that it is more of a marathon, and then really adjust the sprint. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I mean, it's when I got out of the Marine Corps, I was 170 pounds. I could run literally 8 or 10 miles. We would go on 30, 35, 40 mile humps with 80-pound packs. I mean, you're a machine. There's no other way to say it. And I just let that go, between getting married, having children and priorities, trying to coach little league, trying to make sure that everybody's where they're supposed to be, trying to work midnight shift and then come home and try to be a human, which was very difficult for me. Over time, you go to counseling and you try to figure things out. And once you can kind of balance that mental piece with that physical piece, things become much easier and much better. I'm a huge component of counseling. It saved my life way back. My own counselor, who I still go to, literally saved my life. Once I got to be able to go talk to him and him understand and not judge me and just kind of listen and then give me some coping skills on how to work through some of my trauma.
Now, there's a lot of people that are watching and they have a significant other or they have a coworker, they have a friend. And what does it do when you have somebody else that can walk through and maybe help you through all that?
Yeah. Accountability is huge, obviously. That's me and my wife. I think we're at Lake Murray in southern Oklahoma. We had gone out just a hike. We've gone to Yellowstone. We went to a park last week and RV'd and went hiking for a little while. So yeah, that's a big piece of it too. And is finding somebody like-minded like you that likes, being the accountable piece for your physical, working out and things like that. But yeah, the accountability piece for that is huge. And then you also mentioned, meeting people like us, like you guys have a program called Coworkers
Yes.
for us. I've been going to that for a while. My first year was really rough. I walked in and 91 people laughing and joking, and I'm like, I think I was about 15 years into my career at that point, and I'd been through some stuff. And man, I was like, what is wrong with these people? Like, this is not me. I hadn't laughed in a very long time. I hadn't cried. I hadn't really, just no emotion, just numb. And after that, literally a couple 3 days of meeting people who were like me. They'd been through a similar situation like me. And I was like, man, maybe I'm not weird. I'm not different. I'm trying to be a human, trying to be a cop. And once I kind of found that balance and met some people around the country that they text me on anniversary dates. I text them on anniversary dates, but on those bad days, I can reach out to them. That retreat for me is really important. Again, meeting people that have been through a similar situation, they get me, they're not judging. And I finally learned, to laugh again and kind of start cutting up and trying to be myself.
No, that is awesome. And you mentioned that. I'm going to bring in one of my colleagues and one of our, friends here at C.O.P.S. This is Blair Scene. She is the C.O.P.S program manager. Welcome, Blair.
Thank you. Hello.
Yes.
Hi, everybody.
Awesome. So Blair, you work in the with programs and with all of our programs. We have many retreats, but we're talking to mainly officers right now. And we have one of our larger retreats called Coworkers Retreat. What can you tell the officers about Coworkers Retreat?
Yeah, so Coworkers Retreat is a wonderful program that we offer. It's the retreat that coworkers can go to receive support from other law enforcement officers who have suffered a line of duty death. And at this retreat, like Blue kind of stated a little bit earlier, it's a way that people can talk, have fun, make jokes, stuff like that, and gain support from other law enforcement officers who have been in similar situations and have suffered another line of duty death. So talk about, maybe struggles about your loss, or it may even be something that's current in your workplace. And so we also offer sessions that everyone can go to, and those are facilitated by our wonderful and experienced counselors. They also have, our counselors are hired they have law enforcement background or work with specifically law enforcement families and law enforcement officers too. So, and at these programs, we have really fun and challenging activities. And some of those activities, for example, we have our Pineful Zip. And that is an outdoor activity. It's this really, really tall rock wall that you climb up, and then there's a long beam that you shimmy across, and then you zip line all the way down. and it's a lot of fun. And then we also have shotgun skeet shooting. So we are very thankful. We have a Missouri Department of Conservation that comes out, and they come out and they provide all free ammo. And it's we also have our Alpine Tower, and this is probably the biggest activity that we have that can be challenging, very challenging. So it's a 50-foot hourglass shaped tower, a jungle gym. And there's three sides. There's the easy side, there's the intermediate side, and then there's the hard side. I want to let you know that all of the sides are actually very difficult. So, and it's a huge win whenever you get all the way to the top and you look down and it's such a success that you climbed up it. And then we also have axe throwing and so much more. And that is actually going to be October 4th through the 7th. It's actually in Potosi, Missouri. And let me see if there's anything else I'm forgetting. I don't think so. But
that's
if you're interested, give me a call.
Yes, you can contact us here at the national office. Emily and Lisa will give you the information on how you can do that. But Blair, before you go, I want to see, were you here? So Blue has been to Coworkers Retreat, and this is one of our favorite pictures of Blue. So he was even doing some yoga at Coworkers Retreat. You know, he is a good sport, and my goodness, he is proud, and he was out there and he was doing awesome. And Blue, he's always smiling. He's always smiling. That's what's great about him. Always having a good time. Blue, what can you tell us about Coworkers Retreat?
I will tell you one thing: it's free. You just got to get there. All the counselors that we have there, they are culturally competent. They have been vetted by multiple people, including police officers. But it's all free. You just got to get there. It will literally change your life. I mean, there's no other way. Like I said, the first year I was not going back. My very good friend Kelly Dragus, who's also a survivor and a surviving spouse, she said we're going, and I was like, nope. And off we went, and I drove. That was the first year. So no, it's just being around people that are like us, like-minded like us. They've been through some trauma and through education training, being resilient. They've come out on the other side, and now we get to fortunately help others through support services and through concerns of police survivors.
Wow, that is awesome, Blue. Blair, thank you so much for being with us today. And I know, we're coming to the end of this training, of this live webinar. I'm so used to being at our traumas of law enforcement trainings. But Blue, I do have one question that someone asked, and I want to make sure I ask this. They asked, how can I fit exercise into my schedule when I work 60 to 70 hours a week?
Yep. When I was in motors, we're working 10-hour shifts plus extra duties and details. I would have to get up at 04:30 and cut into my sleep time, which meant I was going to try to go to sleep, a little bit earlier. But my workouts are almost always in the morning because no matter what happens during the day or into the evening, I've always got a workout in. So yeah, I get up very early to go train. Anywhere between 04:30 and 05:30 almost every day to get up and go work out. So I've had to cut into my sleep time. I get about 5.5 to 6 hours of sleep a day. That's just kind of my norm. If you want to get into a gym that has a class, you can figure that out. In the evening time, one of my jujitsu classes is in the evening time, and sometimes I go to that one instead of my morning. It just depends on my schedule, but I make purpose time for that. Because it is very, very important to be able to go and get your training in at some point during the day.
No, for sure. One more. How do you get in cardio and lower body strength training at the same time?
It's weird. I get a lot of looks, but sometimes I run on the treadmill, and at every quarter, I stop and do 25 push-ups.
All right.
Yeah, it looks weird. But depending on how long I have to work out, if I know I'm going to run 2 or 3 miles, and that's all the time I've got on a treadmill, I'll stop every quarter or so, get off and do some push-ups here and there just to make sure and try to get a full body workout in.
Yes, we are just trying to talk with these officers, and we're trying to do and tell them things that have worked for us, and us
right.
being you, Blue, who's the officer here, and just trying to say, we're not professionals. You're not a professional, but you're a professional in life, and in health and wellness. And you are here to try to empower these officers that are watching that you can do it. It's not a marathon, or it is a sprint when you do it the right way, and you're going to make it more of a marathon and try to, get through your full career in as healthy a way as possible. So Blue, I want to tell you, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate you taking the time with us on this 30-minute webinar. Everybody that's watching, we're going to have more webinars in the future, and we will definitely send you an email. And if you have any questions, comments, you can definitely email them to us here at the national office, and we will try to answer those and get them to you. But we want to say thank you, stay safe, and we're so glad you were able to join us today for this 30-minute webinar. Everybody stay safe. We'll see you next time.